Welcome back everyone. A beautiful Sunday here. I'm happy to be back at my desk, and right off the bat I have to invite you to please subscribe to the channel and to Patreon as much as you can. It's really helpful, and I'm sorry to be repetitive about that. Today I probably will have a longer video because I had so many requests over such a long period of time, and I know I say that as well, but it's true. And I'll begin with a little, maybe a funny anecdote. Some of the people around here were noticing that I have tags on some of my rifles, and I have taken to buying rifles for the channel. I now call them channel rifles, which I'm happy to do because a lot of you point out things that I got wrong or am missing, or could I look at a particular rifle in relation to another particular rifle. So when I come across them and prices aren't too crazy, I just buy them, and sometimes I buy them just for the video and then sell them at a loss just to get back to a point where I can buy something else. Anyway, that's all fine. Happy to do it. So here we are with the mini actions. This is an extremely popular subject these days, and it generally looks like to me we've got a massive, overwhelming market in the black rifles, bolt actions as well, semi-automatics. Then we have probably what I would call the traditional collectors, and then part of that group, even though they may not know it, are hunters and shooters who are adopting these smaller cartridges like 6.8 SPC, 300 Blackout, 6.5 Grendel, 7.62 by 39, the old AK round, which is a lot like a 30-30. And the smaller actions allow for smaller rifles, obviously. And I have in my hands Zastava, which I did buy. I call this a channel rifle. The response to my original Zastava video was overwhelming in a positive way. And so I thought, in fairness to the people at Zastava who make these great rifles, I should get a hold of their mini Mauser. This is just an amazingly nice rifle, and the one I have in my hands is 7.62 by 39. So care and feeding is cheap and effortless, but I did my best to have the rest of the small rifles. I'm sure I'm missing some, and I'm always happy when you, as I said, correct me or remind me of some other rifle that I forgot about or couldn't find or couldn't afford for filming. Anyhow, I'll just get back to the subject. So this was the rifle we looked at before, and I had high praise for the Zastava, and I guessed that there is no other factory production Mauser 98 sporter around. Of course, I think you can buy a Mauser, and you can buy custom rifles. There are other ways to go to get a Mauser 98, but not to this quality at this price. That was my main point in talking about the Zastava 98. And my friend Rick in Florida said, "You never worked the action." So Rick, there it is. It's a typical 98, and I'm going to talk about this. Well, it's very, very smooth. It's everything you want in a Mauser 98. I don't think this rifle is missing anything. And there were a lot of custom makers that took military rifles and then figured out ways to make the floor plate work without a cartridge. And most of you know that the military rifles, you release the floor plate with the nose of a bullet and a hole here. But anyway, that's a footnote. So just a fantastic Mauser 98 sporter. And I had, like I said, high praise for Serbia and many messages from overseas. And I hope they continue making them, because I think this is a great market opportunity. These are very well priced, and maybe they could include more calibers, but I know then you have to get the reamers and all the rest of that stuff. But that can all be done in a factory very easily. I think maybe Zastava was not or is not fully aware of their position, because they have a rare opportunity. If you were to buy this or a gun with a rifle with a plastic stock and or polymer or synthetic, as they like to call them, or laminate, I mean, which is the better rifle? I don't think it's hard to choose. So it's just a matter of as I said, taking advantage of that opportunity. But that's not the only rifle they make. In fact, I learned from your letters that they make other rifles, AKs and so on, but I can't comment on those right now. Here is the Zastava Mini Action. It's just a beautiful, delicate, again, wonderfully made rifle. I'll have to at some point hop on a plane and go to Serbia. These messages I'm receiving, obviously a wonderful people beyond the history that I told you I read, and this action has everything that you would want in a small action. It's based on a Mauser. They've gone to what I call an abbreviated extractor. It doesn't have a claw extractor in the full sense of the word, but it's all here, and there's no double square bridge or anything like that. And I'm mentioning that because Berno CZ, the 527, also makes a wonderful mini action. We're going to look at them in a moment, and I'll just finish up with this Zastava. So, like any Mauser, the idea is not only to have a slick action. As you all know, it's easy to make a very smooth action. Tikka didn't reinvent the wheel when they made the T3. There are just other considerations. Tolerances and materials can create a slick action. And as you know, I have hopefully some kind of awareness about how to build these things. That wasn't the objective only. That's not the only consideration. So the 98 and this Mini 98, even though it doesn't have the full claw extractor, isn't meant to be the slickest action. It's very slick. But the tolerances are generous so that dirt and any kind of corruption that might get into the action won't impair the function. And I've heard people all my collecting and shooting and hunting life talk about how smooth the action is. And you listen, and I like a smooth action as well. But it's not the only thing. Anyhow, this action will keep going just like a Mauser 98 is meant to, essentially forever. I don't know how many rounds it takes to wear out a 7.62 by 39, but it's got to be an awful lot of rounds. Now, no doubt if you shoot rapid fire for a long time, you'll get enough heat erosion to make my statement inaccurate, but in regular use. And then they designed this just fantastic floor plate release. It's a button that sits on the side of the steel trigger guard, and in case I forgot to mention, everything on this rifle is steel as far as I can see. The magnet didn't fall off of anything. Action locks properly, and I can't really comment on accuracy. I got this in and made the video right away. So that's the Zastava. And then I thought people will want to see the other mini actions. So first off, I'll show the actions side by side. I hope I can hold them in such a way that you can see them. So obviously the full Mauser 98 on the right, and then the mini action on the left. And you can see that the claw extractor is a rail on the mini action here, but beautifully made. This thing has the Weaver bases that we talked about before. The bolt shroud, beautifully machined steel. The bolt release, a miniature of the Mauser 98. Excuse me. And the action has that that wonderful, I would call it delicate feeling. It's really great. Anyhow, so that's the Zastava. And then if you're buying one of these smaller actions, you know, probably one of the choices is the, well, let's go to the CZ. That's the 527. These have been around a long time. Does this one have the, yeah, this one has the set trigger. I've seen some of these with double set triggers. So that's the 527. and I'll try to do the acrobatics to get them lined up for you so you can see, you can see the two actions there, roughly speaking. And on the 527, they went for the double square bridge design, which gives the action a little bit of a bulkier appearance, but it also facilitates the excellent Brno scope mounts. So those are those two. And I did actually invite some people to test these actions. So just, you know, sometimes it's really good to get the opinion of people whose thinking is not cluttered by being with guns all the time. And the 527 definitely has a very smooth bolt operation. We all know they're accurate. It has iron sights. This is 7.62 by 39. And you could probably, again, the removable magazine, people like that these days. And actually this, every 527 I've ever owned had the removable magazine. I don't remember seeing one with a floor plate, although they may exist. And the sights are excellent. They're not, some rifles have primitive iron sights. Yeah, these are completely usable. You wouldn't need a scope. I mean, you might want a scope for other reasons, but you don't need one. That's the 527. We looked at the 98. This is the Hawa, and maybe Weatherby offers this rifle because there's that deal between Weatherby and Hawa. I don't know. It's very smooth because it doesn't have the claw extractor or anything like the Mauser claw. This is essentially a miniaturized Remington, which almost all of them are Remington 700, whether they're full actions or half actions or minis. Remington got rid of the claw and figured out all the extraction and ejection issues. This one comes with a, well, excellent trigger. This one is in 223. It has the removable box magazine, and this is a plastic. Obviously, the stock is a polymer or plastic. And anyhow, this is what I would call a fully modern mini action. And what does it say on the action? Model 1500. But when I bought it, they just said it's the mini, and that's what it seems to be known as. And it comes in 6.5 Grendel. I'd like to get one in that caliber, and I think it comes in 300 blackout. You'll know better than me what calibers it comes in. Just fantastic. And then just because I was looking at these minis, I went in the vault. I showed you this rifle before. This is a Cooper Model 38. Cooper's in a different price range. I guess because they don't make that many rifles, and their machining is so precision. It's just a lovely rifle and company. And it's got a 3-lug bolt, and it does not have control round feed, but it's only a single shot rifle. There's just something about Coopers. They ask top dollar for their rifles, and I could say a lot about their design and so on, but in the end you just can't argue with something that's so well made. I'll just show you this bolt. I'll set it down here. You can see 3 locking lugs, and everything about Coopers. I'll just hold the rifle up for you. You can see there's no follower, there's no floor plate. I'll flip the rifle so you can see it's like Remington 700 ADL, but it's like an old world firearm, but made with modern computer machining and so forth. And the stock is decent, just lovely. Apparently they made this 38 in a magazine fed version. This one's in 218B. I can tell you I had a whole bunch of 218B ammo. Shouldn't really buy rifles because you have ammo for it, but that's what it was. And I came across this 218B Model 38, and I thought, well, I'll just buy it so I can use the ammo. I could have purchased something cheaper, but at the same time I get to test this. I've had this for several years. And they give you a little target at Cooper. I don't know what range the targets are shot at, but it's like 5 shots or 3 shots, and the target is just 1 hole. And I repeated that performance at 100 yards. So Cooper Model 38, another tiny action. I don't know, is it useful to compare them side by side? So there's the Zastava and the Cooper. This one's a 3-lug bolt. This is the essentially miniaturized Mauser, but with no claw extractor. And then here's the CZ next to the Cooper. It's one of these mix and match things. And then since I was at it, I thought, well, I may as well take out the Kimber. This is an Adirondack. You've seen this rifle before. 300 blackout, and not exactly the tiniest action, but it has the controlled round feed. And we'll just take the Zastava and set it here as well. This is really hard on the filming people to get the lighting and the focus in, but it's a good idea to have a look at all the actions, but it's hard to do it in a gun shop because A, they may not have all these guns, and then you know, there are other people around and so on, so I thought I'd do my best to get them all for you so you can look at them. And the Kimber with the Adirondack in my left hand, exceptionally accurate rifle. A few people ask me, it's hard to hold these up for that long, a few people ask me about this scope. How come it has, why do I have the turret on the bottom? So this is one of those German, somebody told me it's a running bore scope. Actually, a couple of people wrote from Germany. And so I have 2 reticles in this scope. That's why it has 4 turrets. And I can adjust windage and elevation on all the reticles with the different turrets. And it sounds like too complicated, but it's not complicated. It works fine. And if for quick shots, sometimes placing the target above or on the reticle is slower and less accurate than placing the target between the reticles. You may not think that works, but it does. There's aim shooting, and then there's instinctive shooting. And for running game or for birds, when the variables are constantly changing, this actually is a good idea. Anyhow, so that's the Kimber, and we looked at all of the rifles that I had to show you today. And so I try when I can to make a summary, and again it's driven by my money. I'd say for the dollar, just like with the Zastava full-size rifle, the Mini Zastava is as good as you can get. This is 7.62 by 39. So I mean, it all depends what you want to do. You can go and burn a lot of ammo with an SKS or an AK or other rifles, but 7.62 by 39 in this miniature Mauser action, it's fantastic. It doesn't jam. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to check this one for accuracy, but I'm really not worried about it. I'll tell you the only thing that maybe the manufacturers, I don't know if somebody's watching, if they could make some smaller scopes. The scopes are just huge for these mini actions, and I don't think this trend is changing direction anytime soon. Even the Leopold compacts, they're too big. And I've seen Zeiss scopes from the 20s, and they're tiny, and they, in fact, I've got one around here somewhere that started out as like a 2.5 to 5, and the way they magnify is different from modern scope. It's no point getting into that. It wouldn't be that difficult to make a 4 to 12 scope that's as long as this action. It's just somebody needs to do it, which would be I think a bestseller. A lot of these guns, the scope looks like a blimp, as I've said before, on a regular size rifle, and on these it's even worse. Anyhow, I hope that's useful. Full praise to Serbia again for making these fantastic rifles. They got everything right. No gun is perfect, but for the dollar, and this is, like I said, as good as it gets. I like iron sights, you know I do. Probably it's a good idea. They're not that expensive, and the assumption is everyone uses a scope, but not everyone does. A lot of people do because they have to, because there are no iron sights. But just put some iron sights on them, and you can sell even more rifles. Anyhow, that's a long video. I hope I didn't get too boring, and but we covered a lot of ground. And don't underestimate this Berno 527 if you want a fantastic rifle. Those are around. And if for some reason you just can't stand wood and steel, like walnut and steel, then you can't go wrong with this Howa. This is actually an unbelievable rifle. Even I like the removable magazine. It's nice. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and we're going to try to film right through this day. So hopefully you can tune in for the next one. And I'm reiterating, please push the subscribe button. And if you can help me on Patreon, be much appreciated. Thanks again. We'll see you shortly.